Good morning. Today we bring you a story that's not just about politics, but about trust, responsibility, and the expectations we have for those who represent us. Sometimes, a story comes along that makes us question the people we trust to lead our country. It forces us to look closer at the individuals we elect, and to ask whether they're truly living up to the promises they make. Recently, news broke that Georgia Representative David Scott, a 20-year veteran of Congress, reportedly hadn't voted in the last 6 elections, including the pivotal 2024 presidential race. For someone who spent decades in public service, this revelation was both surprising and deeply troubling to many. State Representative Doctor Jasmine Clark brought this to light, sparking outrage and disbelief nationwide. Her announcement didn't just make headlines, it started conversations in living rooms, workplaces, and community centers across the country. The question was simple: how can someone who asks for our votes not cast their own? Voting is the foundation of our democracy, and for many, it's a sacred duty. For many, this felt like a betrayal of a basic civic duty. It left people wondering if their voices were truly being heard, or if their leaders were taking their support for granted. The story quickly became about more than just Scott. It ignited a national debate about accountability and the fitness of our elected officials. People began to ask, what other responsibilities are being neglected? Dr. Clark also raised concerns that Scott might not even live in his district, deepening the controversy. If true, this would mean a further disconnect between the congressman and the people he's supposed to represent. Suddenly, the issue was about whether our leaders are truly connected to the communities they serve. Are they present in our neighborhoods, listening to our concerns, and sharing in our everyday experiences? Calls for term limits and mandatory retirement ages grew louder, with Scott's case serving as a catalyst. Many began to wonder if it's time for new voices and fresh perspectives in Congress. This story goes far beyond one man. It's about the very heart of our democracy. It's about the standards we set for those in power and the consequences when those standards aren't met. Are our leaders truly representing us, or have they become disconnected from the people they serve? As this debate continues, one thing is clear: the choices our leaders make matter, and so does our vigilance as citizens. To understand the impact, let's look at who David Scott is. At 80, he's represented Georgia's 13th district for over 2 decades, becoming a fixture in Washington. But recent years have brought growing concerns about his fitness for office. Public incidents, like a confusing claim about attending a 1956 movie premiere at age 11 and a rambling speech on tariffs, have raised eyebrows. Behind the scenes, staffers and colleagues have questioned his ability to serve. A December 2023 incident, where he was filmed in a wheelchair swearing at a photographer, only fueled the debate. Scott's story is now a case study in the challenges of long tenures and advancing age in Congress. It's a reminder that public service requires both dedication and the capacity to meet the job's demands. Scott's story highlights a bigger trend, one that goes far beyond a single person or a single district. It's about a growing disconnect between the people who make our laws and the people who live under them, a gap that's becoming harder to ignore with each passing year. Congress is much older than the people it represents. The faces in the halls of power often look very different from those in the communities they serve. The average member of the 119th Congress is 59 years old, while the average American is just over 39. That's a 20-year difference, an entire generation apart. In the Senate, the age gap is even wider. The average senator is nearly 64, and half of all senators are 65 or older. Many have spent decades in public office, shaping policy through eras that feel distant to younger Americans. The oldest, Chuck Grassley, is 91, a living link to a very different America, one that faced challenges and opportunities that today's young people may only read about in history books. The House is only slightly younger, with an average age of 58. Even here, the majority of lawmakers are decades older than the people they represent. 20 members of Congress are 80 or older. For some, public service has become a lifelong career, spanning generations of voters and shifting national priorities. While the minimum age to serve is 25 in the House and 30 in the Senate, the halls of power are overwhelmingly dominated by older generations. Young voices are rare, and fresh perspectives can struggle to break through. This age gap raises important questions. Can a Congress led by baby boomers and older Gen Xers truly understand the priorities, anxieties, and dreams of millennials and Gen Z? Or are younger generations being left out of the conversation? Issues like student debt, affordable housing, and rapid advances in technology aren't just policy debates. They're daily realities for younger Americans. These challenges shape their lives, their futures, and their sense of what's possible. Older lawmakers may study these issues, but their perspectives are shaped by a different era, one where college was cheaper, homes were more affordable, and the digital world was just beginning. The generational divide is at the center of the debate about whether our government truly reflects the people it serves. As the country changes, the question grows louder. Is Congress keeping up? Are we being represented by people who understand our present and our future? Or is it time for a new generation to have a seat at the table? Why is Congress dominated by older Americans? It's a question that comes up every election cycle, as the average age of lawmakers keeps climbing. The halls of Congress are filled with faces that have been there for decades, and it's not just a coincidence. The power of incumbency is a major factor. Once elected, it's hard to lose. Incumbents benefit from established reputations, loyal supporters, and a track record that reassures voters. Incumbents have name recognition and easier access to campaign funds, making it tough for younger challengers. Newcomers often struggle to get noticed or to raise enough money to compete. The path to Congress is long. Most start in local or state offices, building networks and experience over decades. It's a slow climb, and few make it to the top quickly. By the time they run for Congress, many are already in their 40s or 50s, having spent years working their way up through the political ranks. Money is another barrier. Campaigns cost millions, and younger candidates rarely have the resources or connections. The high cost of running for office can discourage fresh faces from even trying. Older candidates are often more established, with personal savings and donor networks built over a lifetime. This financial security gives them a huge advantage. Voters themselves often prefer candidates with more life experience, seeing it as a sign of wisdom and stability. Many believe that age brings perspective and a steady hand in turbulent times. While younger candidates bring fresh ideas and energy, older ones point to a lifetime of accomplishments and deep knowledge of the system. This contrast shapes the choices voters make. All these factors combine to create a system where Congress naturally skews older, year after year, despite calls for generational change. The result, a legislative body that's out of step, age-wise, with the nation it serves. Younger Americans often feel their voices aren't fully represented. Is this the best way to ensure our government stays relevant and responsive? Or is it time to rethink how we bring new voices into the halls of power? But is an older Congress all bad? Not necessarily. Experience matters. Crafting laws is complex, and veteran lawmakers know how the system works. Long-serving members build relationships and expertise, especially in key committees. Institutional memory is invaluable during crises, providing stability and historical context. Older lawmakers have lived through pivotal moments, like the Cold War and Civil Rights era, shaping their leadership. Their perspective can steady the ship in turbulent times. Seniority brings power. Committee chairs and leadership roles often go to the longest-serving members. For constituents, having a senior representative can mean more influence and resources for their district. The seniority system, while controversial, can benefit communities. The challenge is balancing this experience with the need for fresh ideas. Is Congress better off with seasoned veterans, or does it risk becoming stagnant and out of touch? The answer may lie somewhere in between. There are real concerns with an aging Congress. The job is demanding, long hours, travel, and constant decision-making. Health issues become more common with age, raising questions about lawmakers' ability to serve. Scott's missed votes and public confusion highlight these worries. When leaders' health falters, public confidence can erode. There's also a generational disconnect. Younger Americans are digital natives, facing challenges older lawmakers may not fully grasp. This gap can lead to outdated policies and missed opportunities. The question: can Congress keep up with a rapidly changing world? The generational divide in Congress is stark. For the first time, Gen X is the largest group in the House, but boomers still dominate the Senate. Millennials and Gen Z are barely represented, just a handful of millennials, and only one Gen Z member, Maxwell Frost. This underrepresentation means millions of Americans' voices are missing from the halls of power. Each generation is shaped by unique events and challenges, leading to different priorities. When older generations dominate, debates about the future, like climate policy or social security, are shaped by those who may not experience the long-term consequences. Many young people feel frustrated that their future is being decided by a political class that doesn't look like them or share their urgency. The question of whether our leaders truly reflect the nation is more pressing than ever. As the generational gap widens, so does the disconnect between Congress and the people. Will the next generation have a real seat at the table, or will their concerns continue to be sidelined? The uproar over older politicians has sparked calls for reform. Term limits are a popular idea. Supporters say they'd bring fresh faces and reduce the power of incumbency. Others propose a mandatory retirement age, arguing it's about ensuring lawmakers are at their best. Critics warn that term limits could force out effective leaders and that age-based rules are unfair. Still, recent deaths of older representatives and high-profile incidents have kept the debate alive. The public is watching, and many believe it's time for serious discussion about how long lawmakers should serve. Should we prioritize experience or make room for new voices? The answer isn't simple, but the demand for change is growing. The future of Congress may depend on how we address these questions. Reform could reshape not just who serves, but how well our government works. So, what's the right balance? Experience brings wisdom and stability, but too much can lead to stagnation. Fresh perspectives drive innovation and reflect a changing nation. Maybe the answer isn't choosing one over the other, but finding ways to have both. Reforms could make elections more competitive and campaigns more accessible for newcomers. Mentorship could help transfer knowledge from veterans to rising leaders. Ultimately, it's up to voters. Do we want the status quo, or are we ready for change? The story of David Scott has opened a national conversation about who leads us and what we expect from them. The choices we make now will shape our democracy for generations to come.